Okay. Please make druid so nice, or at least make other ascendencies more than a blood mage. Don't you dare bugging out.
Time to show off a new class that we know everyone in the community's been waiting for.
Dude, what
So let's roll the trailer for Path of Exile 2, The Last of the Druids.
Well, well. What have we got here then?
You lost, fella?
Hey, we're talking to you.
I asked you a question.
What's wrong with him?
He's lost his bloody mind.
That was dope.
Find you, Eve.
Now, as you can see, the Druid is a shape-shifting elemental spellcaster. After his fellow Druids were destroyed by the King in the Mists, the Druid lost his humanity in the forests of Ogham, where he wandered for years as a beast. Now, finally reawakened, he's determined to find his lost wife and regain his humanity. The Druid has been one of the hardest classes for us to design. As well as having human spells, he has 3 animal forms, and we wanted to make sure that there were interesting combos between all of them. The Druid is our first hybrid strength and intelligence class. That means he needs to have the ability to use spells and attacks. As a human, the Druid typically uses magical staves to harness the powers of the earth and the natural world. One of the first skills you will learn is the ability to create enemies, and will continue to do so for some time. While the volcano is active, turn into an animal and wade into melee.
Why is it so laggy whenever I space out of it?
Many of the skills you use as a human last for a significant period of time, giving you a good chance to turn into an animal and rage out. But how do you turn into an animal, you may ask? Well, the answer is a new weapon type that druids use, animal form you would like the talisman to represent. Depending on what you choose, you'll be given that animal's basic attack as a new skill to equip. For a bear, that's maul. To turn into a bear, simply use the skill. Your character will instantly transform into a bear and attack. If you want to change back to a human, just cast a spell. You will instantly swap back and cast it. We wanted to make sure that swapping between forms was seamless and immediate. Changing forms should be something that you do without even thinking about it all the time in battle. In order to allow for hybrid melee and caster gameplay, most of the you use in your human form last for some time and aid your animal skills in some way. The volcano we used earlier will emit more molten balls whenever you hit it with a slam, making it perfect for use with your bear form's furious slam.
Mine.
While in bear form, many of your abilities use rage. There are a lot of ways to generate rage, but the easiest one is simply smash your enemies with maul. Once you see the runes on your back glowing, it means you have enough rage to do a much more devastating version of your furious slam.
And look, take an area of effect stuck
Your
in.
bear form can also go on a rampage, stomping the ground as you demolish your foes. The more rage you have, the longer the rampage lasts, and doing it over a volcano makes it even better. As you consume rage, your bear form will generate endurance charges, and these can be used with skills like Ferocious Roar. Ferocious Roar is a war cry that empowers your subsequent attacks to break your opponent's armor. The more endurance charges you have when you use it, the more empowered attacks you will gain. But Ferocious Roar has another special feature too. It's a meta gem that allows you to socket any warcry gem from another class into it, giving you the ability to use these skills as a bear. Use the Warrior's Infernal Cry skill to make your enemies explode.
Okay. That's dope.
Or use Seismic Cry to stun your enemies and double up the number of slams you do.
That's giga dope.
You can even use it with Ancestral Call, a skill that turns you into the fire god Cow. Ever wondered what the Karui god of war would look like if he was a bear? Well, wait no longer. Finally, build up enough rage and you can use one of the bear's ultimate abilities, Walking Calamity. This skill summons a storm of fire around you for some time, while generating even more rage to power your other abilities. A true bear-pocalypse. Now the bear is known for being a slower and more lumbering animal, with slower attacks and heavy slams. But what if you want to turn into something a little more nimble? Well, let's check out the second animal form for the druid, wolf form. For the wolf form, we wanted to go fast and furious. Even just the wolf's basic attack will leap forward and rake his foes. After attacking, the wolf stands up on two legs, but after running for a short time, he goes back on all fours, allowing to move more quickly between packs of enemies. The wolf has a lot of cold attacks based on his association with the moon, and the first of these is Lunar Assault. It's great for freezing your enemies in place. After they're frozen, use your basic rake attack to knock shards of ice off your enemies, which land on the ground nearby and explode. If you want to get into battle quickly, you can use your pounce attack. This skill leaps at a target and applies a mark to them. Killing the marked enemy will summon a wolfman into your side, allowing them to fight with you. Mark and kill as many enemies as you can to build up a sizable pack. While an enemy is marked, your wolves will prioritize that target and do more damage the more wolves you have. So make sure you keep your pack strong. Now, one problem you might run into is your wolf pack dying in boss fights. You often don't have any enemies that you can mark and kill in order to regenerate your pack. To deal with this problem, you can use Cross Slash. Cross Slash jumps backwards and does a vicious double slash. Any marks on your target explode and triggers their abilities. This allows you to pounce to mark an enemy and then summon a wolf even without killing it. Cross Slash also has another feature though. Remember those ice fragments from before? Well, Cross Slash will propel any ice shards on the ground towards its central target. First, freeze your enemies with Lunar Assault. Then rake them to create as many ice fragments as you can. Then follow up with Cross Slash to generate a field of icy explosions to obliterate your enemies.
Oh my god, I'm playing Druid.
If they're still alive after that, your pack of wolves can finish them off.
Ain't no way.
Just like with the bear's raw skill earlier that allows you to use skills from other classes, Pounce is also a meta gem that you can socket mark skills from other classes into. So for example, you might want to try adding Freezing Mark from the Monk to Pounce. After pouncing at an enemy, cross slash to explode the mark and gain extra cold damage for a time. The wolf has many other ways to go all in on cold though. Using the Arctic Howl Warcry will allow you to add cold damage and chilled ground to any slam, while buffing your pack of wolves as well. You can also use it to freeze enemies that are close to being frozen, making it much faster to use your other combos. Finally, the wolf also has the ability to call down the power of the moon to transform into an Arctic werewolf with Lunar Blessing. In this form, you move and attack more quickly and deal extra cold damage. Consuming Rage will extend the duration of your Arctic wolf form, so you could try a hybrid bear and wolf build if you want to utilize the skill to its full effect. Alright, let's talk about the third form available to the Druid, and I think it's a cool one, the Wyvern. The Wyvern has a number of long-range
I was afraid they're gonna call it a dragon.
but that doesn't mean you can't get into melee range when you want to. The basic attack of the Wyvern is Rend. Jump forward into combat and slash your enemies with your lethal talons. If they're close to being stunned, you can blow them off balance with a blast from your wings, causing an explosion of damage. After the battle though, to feed. Devour the corpses of monsters to create power charges, and this is when the Wyvern's abilities really come online. When using Rend, you can consume a power charge, charge your wings with lightning. Not only does this do a bunch of damage, but it allows you to turn this melee skill into a much larger AoE attack. Once your wings are charged, your wing blast will also do lightning explosions for even more damage. If your enemies are close to death, no need to wait for them to actually die. When you see this blue marker, just devour them alive. Fresh meat is much tastier after all. Alright, so those are some melee options, but how about range? Well, you wouldn't be much of a dragon if you couldn't breathe fire after all. Rolling Magma is the first of the Wyvern's breath attacks. Spit balls of fire that bounce along the ground. These balls will trigger volcanoes as well, so it's a good idea to cast one as a human right before you start spitting. But that's not all you can spit. You have something a little nastier in that gullet of yours. Spitting a barrage of oil at your enemies will cover them in a viscous sludge that makes them easier to ignite. If you have power charges though, plant your wings in the ground and vomit a barrage of lightning-infused projectiles. The more power charges you have, the longer you can do this for. But make sure you keep your foes at range. You're vulnerable to melee attacks while channeling this skill. In order to help with that, let's take a quick diversion back to some of your human abilities. As a Druid of Scoth, you have the ability to harness the power of nature to create entangling vines to slow down your enemies. Another of nature's punishments is the thunderstorm. Creating one of these will create periodic strikes of lightning from the sky, and will also make your enemies wet. Why is that useful? Well, of course, things that are wet are easier to shock. Use it with lightning damage from your Wyvern form to enhance your damage. Making things wet also makes them easier to freeze, so it works nicely with your wolf form as well. And you know what else likes water? Plants. Water your plants to give them various extra abilities. Use Lightning Storm with Entangle to make them last longer, and attach more vines to each enemy, slowing them further. Summon Thrashing Vines to slam at your enemies for a time. Any that are created in water will be larger and deal more damage. Now then, with our enemies sufficiently subdued with our plants, time to really lay into them with our lightning-infused barrage. Now, this last Wyvern ability is just ridiculous, but we felt like we had to do it. Use Flame Breath to take to the skies and rain down a stream of fire on your enemies. You have wings, so we have to take full advantage of them after all. So fly around and burn in it.
Hot ones though. Imagine if it also does damage.
Now there are a few other skills we didn't cover, but there's one in particular that I think will open up a lot of builds. Spell Totems. Spell Totems are meta gems that let you create a totem that will automatically cast any spell in the game for a time. In order to create one, you will need to spend 3 endurance or 3 power charges. You could use them to throw fireballs, summon comets, or shower the area in lightning. Really, the options are kind of endless. Your bear form can easily generate endurance charges by consuming rage, and your wyvern form can easily create power charges by eating corpses. So it's pretty easy for the druid to get the charges needed, but they're also available from quite a few other places as well. I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of different spellcaster classes thinking about how best to take advantage of these. Now of course, along with a new class comes a bunch of new support gems. We've added over 30 new supports throughout the game, but I'll show you a few of the cooler ones here. Fan the Flames can be added to any wind skill to spread fire from one ignited enemy to the other enemies behind them. It's great for the wyvern's Wing Blast. But you can also use it on many other classes with wind skills, like the Twisters on the Huntress, or the Monk's Staggering Palm Projectiles. Accelerated growth causes extra explosive plants to erupt from the ground whenever you grow plants with rain. And Advancing Storm changes storm skills like your Thunderstorm or Tornado to move across the battlefield. It's great for watering plants en masse, or to turn tornadoes into a real disaster by sucking up multiple ground effects as they travel along. And the sorceress might like to use it with Firestorm as well. Echoing Cry causes your Warcry skills to echo. They will repeat a couple more times with a delay after you use them, giving you more empowered attacks. Use it for the druid's animal form Warcries, or on the warrior for a nice power boost.
Warrior looks so boring,
Grounding
it's insane.
Shocks causes monsters you shock to turn into living Tesla coils, arcing lightning to nearby enemies. You could use it with your empowered wings for an extra damage boost, but it's
All these
also great
forms also
for
look
any
so
other shocking
amazing.
skill. Try it out with Lightning Spear. It obviously needed more AoE clear. There's a whole pile more, but we'll leave those for you to discover. Now with a new class comes new ascendancy classes. The druid will have two options for now, with a third being released later. The first class is the Shaman. The Shaman channels nature's elemental fury and can harness rage as a spellcaster, unifying his animalistic and magical tendencies. By allocating Druidic Champion, you gain spell damage the angrier you are, and with Furious Wellspring you generate rage continuously and can spend it to empower your spells. With the knowledge of the Asmerian Magi, the Shaman can harness untapped power from runes and idols. After allocating Wisdom of the Magi, you will notice that all runes and idols have extra mods only available to the Shaman. These new mods unlock countless new possibilities for enhancing your build.
Oh, what the fuck?
You can also allocate Bringer of the Apocalypse, allowing you to become a walking natural disaster. After dealing enough elemental damage, storms of all elements rain around you, destroying all who would face nature's fury.
Dude.
There are other abilities for the Shaman, but I'll just show a few
They
from
need
each
to
class for
sponsor
now.
me a PC to play this game.
The other Druid Ascendancy
fuck is
is
this?
the Oracle.
Hope they fix the fucking...
The Oracle perfected the power of foresight and utilizes this in combat to gain massive advantage. When taking Fateful Vision, you will see visions of your future self using specific skills. If you decide to follow this path by using the skill yourself, it will do significantly more damage. And with Converging
they
Paths,
optimize the
at a
game.
critical moment in battle when a monster is vulnerable to freeze, stun, or electrocution, the Oracle can use Moment of Vulnerability to see a vision of the enemy's future, and then merge it with the current timeline, allowing him to deal damage to both. And one of my
What?
favorites, when you first become an Oracle, you'll notice over 130 new extra passives appear in the Druid section of the tree. By allocating the Unseen Path, you use your power of foresight to learn from alternate futures and gain skills that would otherwise be unavailable to you. For example, self-sacrificing allows you to be able to summon more minions by reducing the spirit costs, with the trade-off of making your reservation skills cost more spirit. Or Corruption Endures, which allows oracles to have a small chance to avoid death. Both the Druid Ascendancies offer interesting and unique ways to gain modifiers that no other classes can get, so we're expecting a huge variety of build possibilities from these. Now there are unique talismans for the Druid to use as well. We won't spoil all of them, but this one was particularly cool. Fury of the King turns your bear form into a fire demon, converting most of your damage to fire. As a demon, you can also use Molten Crash, a jumping slam attack that leaves fissures around you. This unique also continuously grants glory, allowing you to use your ultimate abilities more easily. Now of course the Druid isn't the only thing we're adding to 040. We still have a bunch more to show. With every new release we create a new league, with new mechanics, new pinnacle bosses, and with a new story to tell. And this time is no exception. So let's roll the trailer for the fate of the Vaal.
The palace of Queen Atziri. It is a ruin, but in the dark, machines still churn. The temple has many functions, and with it, a chance to save the Vaal. A gateway through time. Travel into the past, again and again. Alter the temple, uncover its secrets. You will be rewarded for your sacrifice. And somewhere in the deepest chamber, my queen awaits. I beg of you, hear me. The beast cannot give you what you desire.
You may have studied it, Doriani, but you do not know it like I do. It adores me. Come now, give unto me your desire. At last, fulfill my soul.
What's a crazy ass bitch? The fuck she was done?
Hi, I'm Mark Roberts, Game Director on Path of Exile. In the Fate of the Vaal League, you will find remnants of the ancient Vaal civilization scattered throughout Rayclast. They seem to attract nearby creatures and affect them strangely. After killing them, the remnant appears to gain some amount of power, but not enough to fully activate it. It seems you will need to find 5 more of these arcane devices, and sacrifice the monsters you find there to fully activate one. But things don't always go to plan. These devices are old, and sometimes infected by corruption. Twisted versions of ancient Vaal may emerge, and sometimes even stronger foes. On fully activating one of the devices, you finally discover its true purpose. A portal opens and takes you deep underground to a lost temple, once the home of Atziri, Queen of the Vaal. What treasures could still be inside? I think you're gonna want to find out. In front of the entrance is a console of some kind, and on activating it, you can see a map of the temple. Atziri's personal chambers are on the far side, but how could anyone get there? There are disconnected rooms, and the layout doesn't seem to make sense. And that's when you realize the purpose of the ancient devices scattered through Rayclast. The temple is powered by sacrifice, and this energy can be used to modify the very structure of the temple itself. Each time you run the temple, you will be given 6 rooms that you can place, allowing you to craft your own dungeon to explore. Place paths to link up the dungeon, and place rooms beside them full of precious loot. After you are happy with your choices, open the temple and discover the results of your efforts.
It's like
Each room contains
Eternity.
different challenges along with its rewards. On entering a room, the doors will slam shut behind you and you will need to face the encounter within. But choose wisely. It's important where you place the rooms to get maximum returns. For example, when placing a commander, you could just place it anywhere along an existing path, but a much better strategy is to place it next to a garrison of troops for him to command. With better leadership, the garrison will level up, making the monsters harder, but also more rewarding. Different rooms have different requirements for leveling up. For example, if you want to fully level up a smithy, you will need to supply it with golems from an adjacent golem works, and hook up a generator to the power network to supply it with power. After doing so, the golems will be powered up, making them much more dangerous. You don't need to memorize what interacts with what. When selecting a room, you will be shown the locations that will make other rooms level up, and exactly what effect it will have on the temple. After running the temple, a few of the rooms will destabilize and be removed. It will be up to you to rebuild the temple, adding 6 more rooms each time you come back, making the temple larger and larger and larger. So that's the basic functionality of the temple, but there is a lot more. Once Doriani finds out about your travels to Leraval, he will attempt to persuade you to take on a new mission. The temple entrance contains a prototype of the time portal device. It will be able to take you back in time, but only to one specific point, right before Edzeri triggered the cataclysm that destroyed the Vaal. He requests that you go back and attempt to stop Edzeri to prevent the Vaal from ever being destroyed. Edzeri is on the far side of the temple, so you will need to expand the temple significantly to get to her. And even worse, her chambers can only be unlocked by a room that isn't currently accessible to you. In order to deal with that, you are going to need to visit the architect of the temple. To get to him, you will need to place path rooms, but while doing so, you will probably want to exploit some of the Vaal technology only available in the past. Once you can travel into the past, a whole new set of rooms are available to you, and they have some pretty insane rewards. At level 1, the corruption chamber can be used to corrupt a single item. But placing it next to a thaumaturge to run the place, and a sacrificial chamber to provide soul energy, you'll be able to level it up. And it's worth it, because once you get the room to level 3, there are some very nice rewards to be had. In a level 3 corruption chamber, you will find this mysterious device. It has a slot to place an item, and it only accepts items that are already corrupted. What will happen to them? Well, normally once an item is corrupted, you can't modify it any further. But this device allows you to corrupt your item a second time, adding another enchantment. This has the capability to craft some very powerful items indeed. But be warned, the Vaal are all about taking risks in the pursuit of power. There is a 50% chance that the item will be destroyed. Each room has its own interesting mechanics and rewards when it levels up. Many of them contain bosses to fight, special drops, and in many cases, new crafting opportunities. For example, a level 3 alchemy lab has a nasty Vaal construct to fight, but if you can defeat it, you can find new corrupted soul cores. Like Guatalizi's thesis, which on boots allows you to sacrifice your life to run faster. Or Sita Qualotl's thesis, which on gloves will revive one of your minions whenever an offering expires. Get a sacrificial chamber to level 3, and you will need to face a highborn priest of sacrifice. Defeat him to be able to further corrupt a Vaal unique, modifying it in unpredictable ways. One of the mods of this unique will be removed and replaced with another random mod. For example, this Soul Mantle. It gives you an additional totem, but lowers your totem's life and curses you when they die. By using the machine, this could result in a terrible item if you remove the good mod, but also some amazing items if you replace the downside. Now, one extra thing to mention about these Vaal crafting machines. You don't have to take the items you want to craft into the temple. If you don't have the item you want to craft with you at the time, then clicking this button will allow you to create a currency item instead, allowing you to do the craft later or trade it if you want. Now, there are all sorts of interesting rooms you can find in the temple, but the last one I want to show you today is the Flesh Surgeon. A Vaal Flesh Surgeon can be leveled up by placing him next to a high-level synth flesh lab. But be careful. The Flesh Surgeon has some rather unpleasant experiments in his personal lab. Afterwards, you might notice the surgery table just sitting there. The Vaal are great at crafting items. Why not do some crafting on yourself? After laying down, you'll be asked which limb you'd like to replace. Left arm, perhaps your right leg. Each limb can get a different set of random bonuses, so choose wisely. After getting up from the table, try out your new limb. It seems to work fine, and even perform better than your normal one. Now, there is just one thing with replacing body parts. If you die and are resurrected, your body will return to its natural state. You might need to return to the Vaal Surgeons if you want another robot arm, and maybe get a better one next time. Some rooms, like the Commander, can give you a new type of reward. Medallions that can be used to manipulate the temple in other ways. Using a Quiperlatal's medallion will allow you to artificially boost a room, even if it doesn't meet the normal requirements to level up. And a Huatalotli's medallion will stop rooms from destabilizing when you complete a temple, allowing you to guarantee getting a reward a second time. Great if you want to stock up on double corrupts. Now, with all that aside, time to face the Architect, and you will be in for a fight. Once defeated, you will find another console that can be used to modify the temple. But this one is special. It allows you to place new types of rooms with specific rewards. There are rooms with specific uniques, special runes, and currency. But also a few other, more niche crafting experiments. Like this one, that can extract the soccer balls back out of an item, at the cost of destroying it. Now, something really important is every league we release a significant amount of content for the in-game. In order to make sure that the Fate of the Vaal works well for late-game players, we've added many mechanics to make sure that you can scale the difficulty and rewards to match. Getting some rooms to level 3 adds extra mods to the entire dungeon, and these stack with each other. So in endgame, when you can get some really big temples, you can generate a challenge that can even match the strongest of characters. We also start to introduce ways to store up energy for the temple, allowing you to save up many runs so you can do them later at your leisure, and not interrupt your mapping too often. Now in each league, it's important that we have a new pinnacle boss to test your character's might. In the Fate of the Vaal, you will get to face Adzeri while she was at the peak of her power. One of the rewards you will gain by defeating the Architect is the ability to place the Royal Access Chamber. Once connected to your temple, you can visit it to finally reach the Queen of the Vaal herself. This fight takes place at a critical moment in history, right as Adzeri communes with the beast's power and takes her true corrupted form. Now, we're not going to show you the whole fight, but we will tempt you with one of the rewards. This is Adzeri's rule. This staff gives additional levels to all of your corrupted gems and lets you trade life for extra damage. But in addition to that, while using the staff, mirrors of refraction will constantly appear on the battlefield. Any projectile you fire at these will split into a nova, and they can chain from one to the other. So, that's the Fate of the Vaal League.
More spark.
But we are also bringing the previous league, Rise of the Abyssal, into the core game, along with a few changes. Now, for those of you who haven't seen what happens when a league is over, it's important to understand that you will not be seeing abysses in every area anymore. Rise of the Abyssal is now one of the league mechanics that can show up randomly in endgame. If you want to specialize in running abysses, there is now a tablet that will allow you to add them to any map you run.
That's dope.
You can also craft the tablet to add abyss-specific mods to enhance how they function. Now that Abyss is core, it also needs its own Atlas tree. You can gain your first points by completing an Abyss. but there are more available for doing depths and killing certain bosses. And there are a bunch of different options. You might just want more monsters and bosses, but you can also make finishing an abyss have a chance to overrun a nearby map with the abyssal. Or make your waystone modifiers also apply to abyssal depths. You could specialize in the interaction with other leagues, or specialize in a specific abyssal faction. One of the important elements that we have heard loud and clear is that needing to do abyss crafting on waystones is quite annoying. So, we have removed that. In fact, we have removed instilling from waystones as well. This mechanic felt mandatory on maps because it boosted the value of all other content, but it was both annoying to do and resulted in a lot of visual clutter.
Yes.
Instead, we are bringing back some of that power on tablets, which you don't need to craft nearly as often, since they last for 10 maps each. Once you defeat the Arbiter of Ash, you will be able to upgrade tablets to a rare with 4 mods using regular currency. Even this isn't enough to fully bring back the power you could have gotten from instilling, so we have also buffed the bonuses that tablets give. Going forward, we're not going to be adding any more crafting directly to waystones outside of the basic currency, because it adds too much micromanagement. But on that note, Fate of the Veil does bring the ability to corrupt your tablets, hoping to get one of many different random outcomes. Now, with regard to Delirium Fog, even though you shouldn't have to have it on every map anymore, we still did want to make it less visually annoying. Delirium Fog has been toned down significantly, so you won't feel like you're just playing in a sea of grey.
Fuck yes.
Another big source of problems in the endgame is the feeling of getting overwhelmed with monsters. In 031, we reduced the number of monsters in early endgame in order to help with this, but still scaled up the number of monsters to previous levels by the time you got to tier 15.
Okay.
Well, after letting this simmer for a while, we are still getting this kind of feedback. So we are no longer going to scale up the number of monsters you go as you get deeper into the endgame. Instead, we are scaling up the difficulty and rewards by the same amount.
The graphics fucking up, and I just love to see
instead of increasing
that.
the number of monsters by 40%, they will instead drop 40% more items, grant 40% more experience, and have 40% more life, in addition to all the normal scaling they get due to being higher level. This only applies to regular monsters, not bosses. We have also reduced the speed modifiers that monsters can get sometimes, which also helps a lot with this.
That's really good.
Now, we did have a large amount of content for endgame planned for 040, but unfortunately we just didn't get time to finish it. The scope was a bit too large, and so we would need to wait until 050 for that. But rest assured, there will be a ton of upgrades for the existing leagues, as well as new pinnacle bosses, and a significant overhaul to the Atlas passive tree coming soon. Now, another problem that becomes a much bigger issue in the endgame is game performance. And we have done a lot of work here. The primary issue is CPU load. And to address that, a lot of things have been optimized. And we have done a lot of work to take advantage of more of your CPU cores. You should see frame rates of at least 25% higher, and a lot less bad frame spikes during gameplay. It does make quite a big difference, especially on consoles.
Fucking finally.
A lot more work in this area is ongoing, and you will continue to see performance improvements over the next few months. Of course, another important area is game balance, and we have made a lot of changes. Now, most of these we will save for the patch notes, but I'll do a quick summary of some of the numbers. As well as adding 11 new unique items, we have rebalanced dozens of others that are not currently used very often.
Yeah.
We've also done a pass over lineage supports. 21 of them have been rebalanced, as well as adding 9 more. Alongside the 2 new Druid ascendencies, we have made balance changes to almost all the others, with some of them getting a grander rebalance, such as the Smith of Katava. Alongside the 20 plus new Druid skills, we've also rebalanced 90 other active skills, across all the different classes. And, to top it all off, there are also over 250 new passive skills added to the passive tree.
Oh my god.
These changes should go a long way to increase the viability of many more skills, uniques, and overall build variety that can tackle our most challenging content. Next up, we're going to be talking about our new supporter packs. Today, we're launching 2 new series of supporter packs, the Precursor and Kalguran packs. Each tier contains the pack's full face value in points, alongside several exclusive microtransactions. As always, the microtransactions in these packs are purely cosmetic and do not affect your character's power or progression in any way. The Precursor series of supporter packs contains 6 exclusive microtransactions. First up, the Marble Statue character effect. Once you finally stay still for a moment, a podium rises up out of the ground to immortalize you, turning your skin to marble. When you next move, the stone crumbles around you.
Oh my god.
The Precursors had
me,
mastery
please.
over gravity manipulation. So too can you, now with the Gravity Well portal. Witness the power of its pull as you
I'm not
approach.
swapping my fucking kill counter. Sorry.
Draw
Never.
in enemies with your own gravitational pull with the Awakened Precursor armor set. The Precursors designed and built many mysterious ancient beings. This one used to serve as a scout that would patrol and tase intruders. Why salvage gear yourself when the Master of the Forge can do it for you? Molten gold spills out as the Forge Master breaks down your items. The Relic of the Precursor's map device is a
Holy
mysterious machine that sits atop ancient colossal statues. It keeps track of the number of charges consumed on your Precursor tablets used in the device. The Kalguran pack series also contains 6 exclusive microtransactions. The Kalgurans had astounding skill in astronomy, being able to track cosmic events with absolute precision. Harnessing that skill, with the Astronomer's level up effect equipped, you too can now see exactly how long it took you to level up as it outputs the time in chain. The time taken to reach your last 3 levels is also displayed on the item, so you can link it when you have a time you're proud of. Crush unique enemies by unleashing the wrath of the lost Kalguran fleet, led formerly by Captain Heartland himself. A Kalguran seafarer needs armor fit for the treacherous seas of Rayclast. This set has you covered with the classic tricorn and, of course, a peg leg. The Lost Treasure weapon skins top off your appearance of a true raider of the seas. These gilded weapons can be applied to wands, 2-hand maces, and shields. After a long day of plundering loot, retreat to the Kraken's Cove hideout,
Shame I
a
would
home
never
of
use a
some of the
shield.
most deadly ocean-dwelling creatures in Rayclast. Many ships have met their demise here. What better to accompany you in Kraken's Cove than a kraken itself? Replace your stash with a dormant kraken, waiting for its prey. As you approach, it will awaken and terrify both you and any guests in your hideout.
It's so dope.
Alongside
actually.
this, an extra stash skin item will be granted to you, and when placed, will automatically open to any stash tab set with the currency affinity, to help having to navigate through your tabs.
Are you kidding me?
Additionally, any microtransactions from these supporter packs will be made available for use in Path of Exile 1. Thank you very much for all your ongoing support. We're just about to start the Q&A with Ziggy D. Afterwards, at 11 AM NZ time, we'll post the patch notes. With release at the end of next week, our community team will be posting crucial information you'll need for the release. Keep an eye on the news. Thanks for joining us today and checking out our latest developments. We're looking forward to playing alongside our fellow shapeshifting exiles, all while uncovering Lost Vale secrets by doing some dungeon crafting. We'll begin the Q&A shortly, so please get your questions ready.
Give me the patch notes.
Welcome back, Exiles, to the Q&A portion. I am your host, Ziggy D, and today we're going to be touching on the design of the Druid and the Fate of the Vile League while we gather some community questions. Then we'll deep dive into endgame, balance, and other game design topics. I am, of course, joined by game directors Jonathan Rogers and Mark Roberts. How you guys going today?
Oh, very good. I mean, it's been a great one to work on this one. Like, I've really enjoyed it. So yeah, it's definitely great to see you again. And it feels like it's only been like no time at all since the last time you were here with the PoE1. So that's fun.
Yeah, I'm around every 2 months or so now, roughly. It's great. I love it. Let's keep going. So I do have to open with this, though. Is like, Druid looked a little bit weak, I think, in the demonstration video today.
Yeah, I think one of the issues that we have is like we're so concentrating on like just demonstrating how
Stop fucking up,
how the mechanics work, that we sort of forget to be like, okay, let's actually make sure the damage numbers that we're doing on this like test character we're filming here are actually like in line with what people actually normally expect. So yeah, there's just a few things there that we probably should have caught and made a little stronger there. But yeah, when you actually play it, it's certainly from the alpha feedback incredibly powerful. Like
yes.
We were seeing some people say, oh, the wolf looks weak or whatever. Well, I can assure you that on alpha there's a bunch of people saying the wolf is super OP. So it just comes down to the things you go through in order to demonstrate stuff.
I think we are probably going to be worthwhile. We make some videos showing a bit more of the less demonstratey side and get them posted and stuff this week. Because honestly, you can just play it literally right now, and it's
Yeah, I've definitely been playing and recording a bit myself, because I was like, when I first watched it as well, the draft, I was thinking, it's like, I don't really get a feel for what it feels like to actually play it. There's good demonstration here of the mechanics, but yeah, I can understand how from your perspective, it'd be pretty easy to be like, oh, we want to communicate how this cool thing works and this cool thing works.
There's a fine line there for sure. Where if you get too hectic, people are like, I don't even know what's going on. They're just looking at a ruckus. And then, in this case, let's say we went on a little too far on the other side of the line, was just a bit too slow, and
actually
as a result, it can look a bit weak. But
I think we'll try and get some like raw Druid gameplay out to people to understand it. I think particularly for this class, because of the shape-shifting stuff, it's so hard for us to, normally we can look at something and be like, oh, that's just a demonstration. We kind of know what it would look like at endgame. But I think with the Druid, it's just so unusual. It's so different that it's actually hard to judge what it would feel like to even play
weapons
it.
With it,
And I'm happy from my hands on to say that like it's almost immediately like very smooth. The shape shifting of it, the movement of it, especially because like in your demonstrations, you're not really using dodge, roll, sprint, that sort of thing as well, which makes a big difference.
I suppose one of the things we didn't really dwell on in the video as well is that we do actually have dodge roll. I mean, they're not actually rolls for the animals, but yeah, all the animals can like hop around and that kind of stuff. And that was honestly one of those things that was like kind of funny, because initially we actually had it so when you dodge rolled, you would transform them back into a human. And the reason we did that is because it's really hard to make animations for animals that like actually work correctly. Like, we actually thought it was impossible. But then when we actually put it on alpha, there was the kind of visceral reaction of, I want to still be a bear, like, while I'm hopping around. So we ended up having to like work out like, how can we make this possible? How can we make it so that you can actually do the dodge rolling as an animal? And that sort of ended up being pretty good, I would say.
And this was like clearly the hardest class to design so far, and it took a bit longer. Like, I think you were originally hoping to bring it out in a previous expansion.
Yeah, quite a while ago. But the thing is with it is that it's kind of like designing 4 classes in one, because not only do you have the situation where obviously we want to have synergy between skills and stuff like that, and we can like look at that in a normal class and work out what those might be. But with this class, people want to be able to play just as a bear or just as a wolf, as well as people who want to play like dual with a human and a wolf, or people who just want to be a wolf and a bear, and like all the different combinations. So we had to kind of come up with a way for like each line needs to be self-sufficient and that it's got all the tools that you need. But at the same time, you have to not have it so it feels like there's just duplication between them. We're like, oh, like this is just the same thing as what a bear has, but you are a wolf instead. So we kind of have to like, it's like you need all the tools, and yet you also need to have them feel different, and that just made it really, really tricky to get all of the things right with it. And then it didn't also help that since the last time we were working on the Druid, way back when we showed it off in Gamescom 2023, we had WSD, and that is a whole other complication because, like, how can we make that work with the animal forms? It's like a whole thing. Like I'll tell you the wyvern, for example, like we had a hell of a time making it so that you could do the ranged attacks, because you need to be able to walk while you're doing it. The wyvern's sitting there with its arms like planted on the ground, like being able to walk while also spinning it. Yeah, it's like we went through so many iterations of that. So yeah, it was just a very tricky class overall, like just crazy.
I remember seeing some very goofy looking like wyvern like months and months ago.
Yeah,
you were like trying to, this is not working right.
Right. Well, I also remember like for a long time the wolf was just like a dancing dog. It was just like it looked really silly. And like, man, the wolf as well. I mean, it was really hard to get right, and because one of the things we really wanted to avoid was I didn't want that too much of that whole like man in a wolf suit vibe.
Yes.
Like I wanted to actually get this the feeling of like this is an actually different animal, which I think with the bear and the wyvern's way easier. With the wolf, it's like it's really hard not to just go back into that. So we had a lot of questions about like what even the locomotion was. How does it walk? Are we going to walk on 2 legs? Are we going to walk on 4? We ended up splitting the difference. You can do both, right? Like you get that when you're attacking and you can be upright walking on 2 legs. When you're walking, you run on 4, and you actually do get a speed boost while you're on 4 legs. Like as a wolf, just so after like 1 second of walking, you go down on 4 legs. You start moving a bit faster. So yeah, it's
Actually,
pretty cool.
An interesting thing there, I don't think is each form technically has a kind of passive benefit.
Right.
So obviously you got the running fast as a wolf. Can't remember exactly what the wyvern ones were, but like for the bear, for example, because you're just a bit bigger, you know, a bit of a tank. You actually do get armor, and armor applies to elemental damage as a thing, and like, you know, there's a kind of, which is like honestly, unless you actually click the bear keyword, is like undescribed everywhere.
Well, there's even more than that, because I was just looking at it in game before. The bear has like passive endurance charge generation.
Yes, it does.
Rage
From rage expenditure, it does.
I was like, that's so cool.
yeah. So we really wanted to make sure that each of the different forms had things that can benefit the other forms. So like it was really tricky to think like, what are resources that a bear can generate? What are the resources that wolf can generate? What are the ones the wyvern can generate that the other ones can then use in order to kind of get that cross synergy? So that's kind of like one of the reasons why we had to kind of come up with all that stuff. And part of the trickiness.
And that caught me by surprise as well, because like technically it's mentioned, but I never really fully understood the idea that you can swap between the forms, like human to animal and back. I figured that's what's going on here, but you can like leap in as a wolf and then immediately transform to a bear mid slam as
you
like,
absolutely can.
Ground,
so
like,
the thing with this is that you want to present a fantasy to someone as far as like what the UI is pushing you towards and all that sort of stuff. Like there are going to be a lot of people who are like, I want to be a bear, and they just pick bear stuff and they go all bear, right? But at the same time, we're unconstrained in the sense that you can pick all the other stuff. You can use it at the same time. So one talisman, like effectively when you pick on a talisman from like wolf, bear, or wyvern, what that's giving you is the default attack, right? That's what you're actually picking, and that's all it is, right? And that often will guide you, like what skills you're picking and so on, but you can just use with that same talisman as many different animal skills as you would like. That just means that you've got that sort of free-flowing, like, you know, trying out different stuff, sort of combo gameplay that we like to try and get. So obviously there will just be a lot of people who just pick one thing, right? Like I absolutely expect that. There's a lot of experimentation to do there if you want to do it.
Yeah, so you've tried to hit like making it so like people who just want like a simple straightforwards, like I just want to run out as bear and slam the ground, like that's certainly very possible there. But also you with this whole class you had the problem of how do we make like a spellcaster and a melee attacker that's shapeshifter as well. I mean, this class has got a bit of everything.
For sure.
How did you make all that kind of like work together and solve that build problem of like, how do you actually scale these things together in a way that just one thing isn't way better than everything else?
Right. Well, I mean, it's always tricky, and Mark's obviously the one who handles a lot of the balance stuff, but I can see even just from a design perspective, so I just throw over the fence all my horrible stuff, and then you're like, how the hell am I going to balance this? Effectively, like, so even with the spellcaster side, so one of the things we initially wanted with the spellcasting is a lot of it's like over time type effects that, so for example, with the volcano being the really obvious one, right? Like you can create this thing, and then you can turn into an animal and do other stuff at the same time. So we needed on the human side a lot of things that last for a long time. But the problem you then run into when you actually go to balance the thing is like, okay, well, if you've just got like 5 damage over time style spells, why not just cast all of them and then you don't have to ever do anything else, right? Like, so it's like that kind of stuff makes it really hard. So then you have to start thinking, okay, we want to make it so that you cast a long-term thing as a human, but then being an animal is going to augment that so that it improves it. So for example, with the tornado, it's got a similar mechanic to the little twisters that the hunters have, where ground effects can empower it with extra elemental stuff. And so then we're like, okay, well, if the animal forms are the ones that can create the ground effects, then that means that you're kind of like, you're going to want to do, like, to mix that with the tornado, you now have to have both the animal forms and the spellcaster stuff if you want to get all of that together. So it's just a lot of that thinking about how can an animal form aid a spell, how can a spell aid an animal form, like all the way through. And then, as I said, we throw it over the fence, and then Mark tries to work out what kind of numbers can actually make it
it's a web of infinite difficulty, right? Because like we're talking about the 4 forms within the class, but each of these skills also synergizes with every other class and every other skill in the game, and it's becoming growingly more complicated. But that's also what's fun about the game, and what all the things you can unlock and the crazy builds you can do. But I mean, like this week's focus has been like, okay, we had all the like during our alpha testing and internal testing, we had like, you know, there was the I want to be all forms going between. There was the I just want to be wolf, I just want to be bear, I just want to be a dragon. And now we're getting a lot more of I just want to cast nature plant skills and do plant stuff. And so it's like, okay, well, how do we make that work? Well, because they're quite long duration, so we're having a bunch of complexity with that as well. And it honestly just, it does just spiral into like, oh my God, there's 20 million variables here. But it's fun. And at the end of the day, as long as it is honestly fun to play, then honestly we're golden. So, you know, I would say we're pretty much there on almost everything with this class. I'd actually say we're a little bit more prepared than normal. We've had a lot of testing.
Yeah.
Despite, I mean, partly because it's been in the works for so long. But yeah, it's, I don't know, like ultimately pretty fun. I'd say there's still something, obviously there's still more to do. There's obviously always more to do. But yeah, there's a lot going on, a lot of enjoyment. I saw yesterday, I was just like walking past someone's computer and, you know, someone was mentioning like, yeah, it's just fun placing 6 volcanoes and then just slamming on them. I was like, all right, sweet, you do you. Like, that's fine.
I was definitely enjoying obliterating bosses in bear form, like with dropping tornadoes, and there's the totem which you can summon in animal form. And then you're putting fishes down and they're exploding, and you're putting extra things on the ground and they're exploding. And there's definitely some boss deletion going on there. So.
Even just walking past the just many entangles going out, and then there's that plant support gen. I'm like, all right, it's putting the new.
I see chat being like, no, Ziggy, don't get it nerfed. I do have to admit that I did already get one thing, let's say fixed. There was a thing that was like double generating rage. So I'm like, I don't know if this was intended. Right. And like, no, the designer said that's probably not intended. Thanks, Ziggy. I'm like,
I don't know. I will see where that goes, because I was like, no, that's fine.
This is a fish.
It made it to me, and I was like, no, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, because it generates rage when you first slam, and then the fishes, every time they pulse, it generates rage. I'm like,
oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, shit, I didn't even know that.
Because like the totem's making it pulse, and that's generating rage.
Right.
I'm like, that doesn't seem intentional.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I love that, because that's like ridiculously powerful. That feels like way permissive. I was like, this feels illegal, but that's like... You gotta let a few things in there that feel illegal.
It's doing what the skill says.
I may not have. Maybe I didn't get a note. Okay, cool.
I don't know. They might have changed it. I'll find out afterwards. I just throw my opinion in there. I don't want to necessarily be like, you know, I try and make sure with a lot of these balanced discussions, it's not like, you know, I'm just an authority on the matter. I want to actually discuss these things through, because maybe it isn't actually fine, but, you know, my first instinct is like, yeah, like let it run wild. Like, what's the problem, you know? So
yeah, you gotta.
We'll see what happens, but whatever. They don't know what the problem is, so don't worry. Oh, now they do. Thanks, you ruined it. Now people will know if it changed, and now
they'll see the thing not generating rage, and they'll see that line of text. Now that's the Ziggy line of text. I'm developing a reputation now. It's just helping finding bugs. It's okay. So, like the shapeshifting stuff comes from this trinket, the talisman?
Yeah, the animal talisman.
And is there any limitation just kind of like putting that on another class and just say like, I am playing my mace marauder or my quarterstaff monk, and I want to do a wolf leap slam that marks targets.
You can do it. In fact, it was one of the things initially that, it's funny with the audio team, because initially like, oh, we want to record like bear lines for the Druid the whole time. And I'm like, hey guys, remember, anyone can turn into this animal. Are you actually going to commit to every single class is going to have like three different extra versions of every single line the character can deliver?
Maximum effort.
It's like, yeah, that's a bit tricky. So we ended up going with a voice mod in the end. But that was one of those.
It's like their thoughts. I think it shifts to. It almost sounds like, to me, that's what it sounds like. They're like, they're thinking it or something like that. I don't know.
But it would have been completely impossible to record every single line an additional 3 times for every character class.
Voice actors, everybody come back and we need to roar like a bear.
Exactly. Effectively, every class can be an animal. It's exactly the same as the weapon restriction. Ultimately, being a bear is the same as having a mace, which may sound a little bit odd, but that is actually how it works and what allows having.
Whoa. I didn't even think about that. Wait, so you can use mace skills while in bear?
No. What I meant was that it's the same. I mean, it's the same in the sense that it's just a weapon type, right? Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Damn it, now we have to make that possible.
Well, I mean, you can turn into calm as a bear.
That's unique item territory for the future.
It often gets talked about, like the idea of like, why are things like so weapon locked? And I've always maintained the position that you guys want to kind of do that as much as possible initially, and then in the future you can blur the lines a little bit. Like there's maybe in the future you're like, oh well, maybe this skill has a way of crossing over.
We can do, but the thing is, a lot of the identity of a weapon type really comes a lot from what it can do, and so that's kind of the main reason why we do it that way. But but the thing is as well, with the weapon swapping, I mean, you can still use skills from different elements, different weapons and things like that.
The thing is, like, it's funny that you mentioned that with the bear, because like definitely some of the bears, I noticed parallels between some of its skills and some of the mace stuff, and I could see absolutely combining like this bear skill that places fishes with the other stuff on the mace that triggers the fishes. Like there's like very obvious like cross synergy build.
Well, I mean, they're adjacent classes, right? I mean, you've got like strength versus strength int. Like we want to be able to make sure that some of those key elements do like cross over, just so that to open up the way to have synergy between the different classes more easily.
Well, as you get more classes and more skills, you obviously get an overlap of the kind of mechanics and keywords and stuff, you know, iterating, and thus they will always cross-synergize. And where there still will be new things a class offers, yes, there's always going to be a bunch of stuff that they use that will then interact with all the other skills. So.
Yeah, and now you added plants and plants that grow from rain, and there's a plant keyword that has overgrown as a keyword.
Like, it's interesting actually, those ones, because they're on completely opposite sides of the tree. You've got dex versus strength int, and that's been a little bit hard to kind of like get the like where the mechanic should go on one side versus the other. So where we ended up going is that the nature side of things for plants on the strength int is like you've got the poison on the dex side versus the kind of like just pure nature like physical damage spells on the on the strength inside, but that's been fun though, because now it's actually been really fun designing the supports, because you know, the more classes we have, the more we can start to think, okay, like here's a support that's for something obscure. How can we make it so this can apply to some other kind of thing on the opposite side of the tree, where like now you've got some interesting interaction. So there could be some kind of like thing where growing plants as a ranger could be sort of something. I mean, like I can't say I've tested the potential there myself, but like we made all of that work. All the plants can, you know, like plant stuff all has mechanics around like watering the ranger's plants is like a thing. They all have ways that works.
I mean, that definitely opens up interesting party options in the future as well. Like I do like the idea of being like a rainy druid watering.
It's a thing. It's easily a thing. It's not even hard to do as well.
Right.
It's kind of just like, thanks druid, you buffed poison rangers. Yeah. Like, that's kind of just what happened.
Yeah.
Alright, good, yes. And the rain buffing lightning skills as well, like increasing shock chance and stuff. It's pretty wild how much stuff you've just jammed into one class here. How did you like kind of settle on a identity for the wyvern in particular? I feel like people know what a bear is, people know what the wolf is, and even a lot of the like druid stuff is pre-established as like, you've got plants and you got like nature and you got like lifting up the earth, that sort of stuff.
Well, we really wanted to have a third form that was a little bit out there in terms of different from what you'd seen in another game. I mean, obviously, like every game that's got transformations has the bear and the wolf, right? That's just like the staple. But and actually, for that, funnily enough, for that reason, we couldn't not do it. There was actually a period there where we weren't going to have a wolf because we were a little bit unhappy, with us. And it's just like, well, exactly, right? That was the reaction. That was the reaction of like all the furries come out of the woodwork and like, you gotta have a wolf.
How dare you?
Yeah, how dare, exactly, right? So we're like, okay, we'll have a exactly. Don't anger them. So that was a real concern. So we decided to go. We needed the two familiar, and then we needed one that was a little bit more out there. And really, when we're looking at the bear and the wolf, it was kind of like we want the slower, harder hitting. We want the faster and like speedy kind of version, obviously being the wolf. We also wanted something that had some range elements, and then a sort of more spellcastery vibe a little bit more. And so we sort of thought about it a little bit like, what animal is ranged? Like, it's not really, there's like kind of not a lot out there that can really sort of do that. And so, eventually we settled on the wyvern. I mean, someone of course at one point was like, how about a dragon? And we're like, what the heck? What are you talking about? But then eventually I thought about it, and it's like, actually, you know what? There's some potential here.
If you suggested to me, I told you not to do it because like, there's no way you could make it look good and not look stupid. But
it eventually, it was hard though. We did get there.
It actually looks pretty cool. But it's kind of a spell blade almost. Like, it's got a bit of range stuff, but it's got a bit of like spell kind of melee things going on.
I mean, as it should be for strength int.
Yeah, and you were asking what the passive buffs were. I was looking at it before. It's like, it's got buffs to freeze, shock, and energy regeneration actually, as well. Like energy recharge, I think.
It's a shame you knew. The reason I was actually being vague is I knew what they were. I just wanted to change them.
Okay, I mean, that's fine. Do something
Sorry
cool.
for my slight disingenuousness.
Do something cool.
I kind of feel like they shouldn't. I didn't want them to be offensive benefits.
Yeah, they're supposed to be defensive.
It forces you into certain build types. Whereas like if they're utility or defensive, that way they will work across all board. That's my general philosophy. So I was like, I feel like I want to have a go at trying to design the energy shield thing. I don't mind. I wanted to have a go at designing stuff that's more utility or defensive only, and that way you don't feel like, oh, I should have to play lightning or fire because it gets the passive benefits. That way, if you wanted to do a kind of weird out there thing, it doesn't feel so bad, but we'll see what I come up with.
Do you have an idea, or are you still figuring it out?
Nah, I got no clue. I don't know. You could play on the fact it's got like, wings to, something defensive for block, or something for, hard carapace maybe, or... I don't know, the fact it has wings, something to do with the wings,
so much dragon lore to pull from. I got like a book that my daughter really likes to read that's like full of dragon lore. I'll send you some ideas.
All right, sweet, yeah. Dragon, they hoard gold, right? Gold find?
Yeah, totally.
That sounds like it.
Eat piles of gold for buffs or something.
There's gold over there. Quick, shapeshift, pick it up, shapeshift back. No, I'm obviously joking, please. I'm not doing that.
Gold find, no, please don't. Mandatory dragon gold find build. I know it's kind of funny though. It's distinctly PoE. So the druid is this like strength int class, and with the Templar we had the idea more of like you've got that armor energy shield stuff, but that's still the case here, as that's the strength int base. But I feel like the energy shield stuff is not as iconic to druid. How have you incorporated that and made it feel like something that makes sense, or like in what ways have you incorporated that to the druid? I feel like it's not obvious.
Yeah, look, it is a little bit off in terms of the feel there, but at the end of the day, we kind of don't really have many options as far as what we can do. I mean, like that, it is important for it to be that it has that, like armor and energy shield approach. There's a few sort of interesting, what do you call them, spirit reservation gems. I don't know I can never remember what the official name of that is. That sort of interact with that stuff in a dual way. So there's like that bark skinned thing that effectively allows you to take advantage of energy shield to generate armor. Like, so when you lose energy shield, you get armor instead, and like it like creates little bits of bark on your skin.
Cool.
There's like things like that we've added, but yeah, it's a little bit of a thematically weird thing. I think probably the weirdest part about that is like, yeah, you're gonna have energy shield as a bear. It's a bit strange, like, getting hit as a bear and then there's a little energy shield pop. But I mean, yeah, it is what it is. Kind of has to be that way.
Well, you don't have to.
Well, I suppose, sure, you can go full armor if you want, but yeah.
I feel like because there's like such a range of identities within that one class as well, that you've got the bear maybe that doesn't really align as much with that. There's definitely more armor stuff.
Yeah,
going
so
on
you could build more strength when depending on what animal form you're playing, of course.
Yeah, whereas like the wyvern potentially has more of that kind of magical aspect to it, where it's like that's
I mean, and that's why the wyvern itself does get the benefits to energy shield, and the bear does get the benefits to armor, in order to kind of make it so you are, like, depending on what animal form you're going, there's a bit of alignment in the defenses there.
I mean, really, it's the tree that inspires and motivates this, right? Like, a sorceress could be on the bottom side of the tree and still have the same skill set, and obviously the damage nodes are a bit weird, but it could work. There's nothing saying. I mean, that's part of the beauty of the game as well.
Yeah, I mean, I had that experience where I was like, because it wasn't as clear, I was almost inventing my own lore there a little bit, where I was speccing the regen from the druid, and then the Zealot's Oath right there. I'm like, oh, this actually, like, you're converting your natural kind of like life regen into energy shield. Like, this is kind of the druid's thing. Like,
yeah, I mean, that is a way for sure. Like, keystones certainly are pretty powerful, and we have a bunch of, I think there's an extra, I can't remember what it's doing. There's one that says do not translate on it, so it's in progress. But yeah, we were playing around with trying to have some armor, energy shield, more hybrid stuff going on with the keystones there. It was based on, what's it called? PoE 1's, is it Divine Shield? Is that the name of the keystone? I can't remember. Too many names. But it's based on that, but not exactly the same, like a derivative of that we're trying to get going. But yeah, it's just because I was like, we need more keystones that I feel more druidy, and I know there's a rage one there that is embracing the animal ferocity, where it like, what does it do? It's like doubles your maximum rage, but makes you don't get inherent bonuses from rage. So it's like, if you really want to do the skills that are rage consumers, like rampage, and you just want to rampage for as much time as possible, you obviously go for that keystone. You lose the benefits of rage, but you get to rampage around for twice as long. Cool. So a few things like that we're trying to add that are thematic as well. And I think that's another one of the really cool parts about adding a class is 1/6 of our tree was just filled with just placeholder garbage. Like, actually, like, there's a giant link thing there there's no links in the game really. You know, it's like what are we doing with that? You know, it's like, and so I was like, well, that looked like a vine. Just make that a plant thing. And, so now it's a plant thing that talks about overgrown plants. And but we filled in that whole bit of the tree, and guess what? Now witches and sorceresses have more energy shield stuff on that kind of direction around towards the druid, and warrior has more, and you know, and I don't just mean energy shield, I mean everything, all the mechanics, right? All the int mechanics are kind of there, the strength mechanics, everything. So
it is nice we finally have a class in every different part of the tree, so like we don't have this like weird open stuff anymore.
Yeah, that area of the tree was a little strange. I mean, it's such a massive tree already, and you're adding more to it, and then like I have to wonder, like, you added this oracle class. Like, I saw the shaman one, I was like, yes, this is exactly what I expect. But then I saw the oracle, and you guys had like 130 extra passives.
So far.
Like, why do you do this to yourself? Like, that seems ridiculous.
It's fun
because it's cool. Because it's cool.
That's
really
the
is
best reason you could ask for, right?
Yeah.
I was like,
What more can you want?
I really went through. I mean, I know we showed 2 examples, but I was like, really want to make sure there's like cool off-spec stuff here. I want to make sure that if you want to be able to get more of a certain thing, this is a way to do it. I mean, at the end of the day, it still costs passive points to allocate, right? So it's more about, you know, maybe you want some stuff that normally you'd have to go to the deck section for and get, you know, maybe some projectile related stuff, and now you can get it up there because it allows for some kind of weird off class, and it was all themed around, you know, if you got to live your life again, what would you change? Like, what different paths would you take? And so it's this interesting, like,
it's an existential crisis as a node.
That fits period.
Initially, I always write my little blurbs about them to you know, get them in the live stream, and I was like, it's got all the passives not yet added to the game. I thought it was an interesting way of looking at it. Not that that's actually how it is, but I thought it was like a kind of, it's like lessons you learn, you get to now use in advance kind of. I thought it was just a cool thematic thing that linked to the class. And it's easy, by the way, as designers to see that kind of thing and go, we have a million things to do. Like, is that really, like, that's too much time, too much work, right? And I'm just like,
sad, isn't it?
If we say that about everything, you get nothing cool.
Yeah.
And so it's that, and I mean, even the shamans, like runes revealing hidden powers, like we're setting ourselves up for a large amount of cumulative time over a while, right? Any rune we add, anything, like we have to add and consider the shaman stats, and we have, that's another whole axis of things. We have to meta balance every league, and same with the oracle passives, and every time we change the tree, and like when we eventually add the Templar, we're going to have to relocate all those nodes because that tree's going to get a giant. Now we've got 2.5 classes in one section, but it's worth it. It is actually worth it. You add so many builds, so many cool things, and if you don't want to deal with it, just pick another class. It's fine. You know, you don't have to, or pick other nodes on the same class. You know, you don't have to take that node. So
I think this like very clearly communicates that you're also okay with this idea of there being just like hidden cool stuff to discover that you're not going to know ahead of time, because you can't like look at the class options on the character selection screen and know what the passives are going to be that are hidden behind the oracle ascendancy, right? So it's like, yeah, that's cool, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, you just, I mean, look, there's always going to be community tools, and they're going to come up with a way to make that, you know, to the build guides and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, like,
I love the secret stuff. I actually got my secret Abyssal Lich.
Yeah, wild.
It was an actual final secret, and maybe there's more. Well, you want to do more
of that, don't you? I can tell. Look at him. He wants to do more.
Of course, I love it. I love people having cool secret things they can find, and it isn't just like 1000% pre-planned out of the gate. Like, I understand the need to plan, I understand the need to have confidence in a build, and you don't want to go in and only realize you've made the wrong decisions and stuff like that, for sure, but I definitely want to find that balance where you have that while you also get your cool secrets that you get to add to the game that are fun.
Yeah. I think there's like a couple more chat questions on Druid, but we'll try and move on to the other stuff soon, because I know people want to talk about the other thing. I could talk about Druid all day. I think the design's super interesting here. But some of the questions were that I think people are a bit confused about like the talismans and the forms and how that stuff works. So the talismans are effectively just like another weapon.
Yeah, exactly.
And things like attack speed, movement speed on gear and everything will affect you in your movement.
Absolutely.
Animal
right.
forms. It's not like, I think because a lot of other games do it where when you change form, like all of a sudden, oh, your weapon's not affecting you, or this thing's not affecting you.
Well, I mean, effectively, so we're doing the changing form by utilizing weapon swap. So you've got 2 weapon sets inherently, and the talisman effectively serves as your weapon. Yeah, like if you're playing a druid, you are going to have to learn how to use weapon specialization passives and stuff like that if you want to have the spellcaster and melee thing. Now, a lot of the passive tree nodes, like in the druid section of the tree, all have like attack and spell damage and that kind of stuff. So like certainly for most of the start of the class, you won't have to worry about it. But as you get deeper in, and if you want to do hybrid spell attack, you are going to have to think about like, okay, what are my attack passives, what are my spell passives, and do that.
I was actually surprised at how simple and straightforward it was to do. So like the weapon specialization tree thing, you still do need to think about and understand how that works. But the basics of it, like using the actual skills, just happens automatically. Like I didn't ever have to actually go in and
no. You don't have to worry about that part. Just because of the fact that because this has always been the rule, but it's really apparent here. Like if it'll swap to the weapon set that can use the ability, so therefore you don't have to actually tweak it. You just put it in and it kind of works.
If I tried to use my spell, it would shift to human automatically and use the staff. So like that was all automated, and I didn't have to like program anything like that. Right. Like I have on some other builds, I guess, where it's a bit more
mostly that's just because you get into a situation with those where because it's usable on both, now you have to start going in there and tweaking that stuff. But because it makes it much simpler when you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, so there's a decent onboarding there, given the potential complexity of that. All right, so we'll move on now to the Fate of the Vile expansion, and there's definitely more of a like clear divide between the two things, and you even actually made 2 separate trailers this time around.
Well, it would have been super weird to have these like 2 completely clashing themes in the trailer. So in the end we were like, normally of course we'd make one trailer with everything, but we're kind of like, man, it's really hard to unify these 2 things in a kind of reasonable way. So in the end we decided to go with 2 trailers and just like show the content completely separately.
They resulted like lots of visual play,
right?
Like,
they're not and both of bringing back some of that power on
that just happened. That was total accident, by the way. It was just like 2 totally unrelated.
Sure. I was
able to upgrade to 4 mods using resources for currency.
Thank you.
This isn't enough to fully the power you could have gotten from instead. So we have also buffed the work that tablets give.
Mechanics into like story quest stuff, which I was super keen on. This expansion definitely feels much more deeply linked into the campaign and story, to the point where like Doriani's saying, go back in time and try and change these things that happened in the campaign. I was like, this feels like a major campaign story beat. So going on now.
There's a few things going on there. So like initially, this league, unlike I think what we've done too much of in the past, the storyline develops quite a lot more kind of like through the campaign with different events that happen and sort of link in a lot. And part of the reason originally for that is that one of the things we sort of don't like necessarily about what leagues do is like you've got this situation where you like walk out of town in like literally the first area, and it's like some eldritch entity is immediately recruiting your services. You know what I mean? Like it's actually very like unfortunate.
Put this rusty thing in your body.
Exactly right. So we kind of wanted to try and make sure that there's a little bit more like it doesn't feel like the world is on your shoulders like right from the get go. Like there's actually like a little bit a growth of epicness throughout the league. So like if we'd have had it so it's like you're time traveling into the past, like the moment you walk out the gate, it's like okay, it's just not quite right. So we decided what we'll do is we'll make so that there is the temple. We've got a kind of like almost a base version of them.
They will instead
the number of rooms, like it's kind of simpler like to start out with, and then once
and have 40% more life.
Opens up
into all the
past. You've got all
they get
stuff going on.
A level
work to kind of
this only applies to regs
and that kind of stuff, but
not boss
works because
we have also
going on
need modifiers that monsters sometimes
just doesn't kind of break you don't break immediately the feeling of the world, which has been a problem in the past.
I have very strong opinions on this one. It's like dark horror definitive secondary
bit too mentioned, and so we'll need to wait until I'm in the vote for that. But
sort of
assured, there will be a ton of upgrades for the existing leagues, as well as new pinnacle bosses and a significant overhaul to the Atlas passive tree coming soon.
Simple as like
now, another problem that
the
bigger issue in the end game
sacrifice circles that you get throughout the world normally what we would have done
Work here.
make one.
The primary issue is
What we've done is we've put like 10 or more. There's a ton of variations of those. Where for like each act, we're like, and like for each area, we're thinking like, okay, which like we need more of these so that we can use them so they feel natural in the place where they are. Like do a bit of material reskin and stuff like that. Like that's kind of the stuff that we now need to do to sort of make it feel like you're not breaking
like
the world stuff.
the PoE1 style, you know, betrayal basement. You know, you just okay,
Just
so there's just a
randomly.
basement everywhere like in the mud flats. Like, okay, you know, that just doesn't fly anymore at all. So like we want to make sure that these things are way more believable.
Right.
Like you are actually convinced. You're like, you know, this makes sense. You know, I'm not just in a basement in the mud flat in a swamp. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the Val is a very distinct thing, and it's very like tied to Act 3 as well. So I was a bit worried about like the tone of Act 1 with the Val stuff, but then like it fits in reasonably well. Like you've definitely taken good care to make sure that it doesn't.
Well, I mean, it's a matter of making it feel like there's some ancient ruin that then later someone came along, like some Ezomites went there and they built some stones around it because they're like, well, what is this thing? And like, we just thought a little bit about like how would the culture here have reacted to the fact that there was this ancient ruin from long ago in this location and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. And you mentioned to me that this is the bar for what you want to be doing. This is the quality level for what you want to be doing.
So I'd say that like it does sort of I would say here, like the level of polish and the stuff that we're doing, like the amount of content that a league needs to actually be good. Like, you know, obviously when we did 020, the league was a little bit like, you know, it was just the Asmerian spirits, and like, I mean, it was a league, but it wasn't really. Didn't have like the depth of content and stuff that you needed. And then with 030, I think we did a lot better. Like it came a lot better, but I still don't think we quite got there in terms of
that was like PoE1 level kind of.
Yeah. And then this one here, I think like, you know, you get up to the level of quality that we really want to be delivering in PoE2, like, you know, post-release and everything, and like the kind of the amount of content you need for a league. Like it needs to be quite sizable and good. And it did take a lot of effort, but I think it's worth it because it sort of shows you what we can do when we...
Yeah, I was going to say that's like a high bar that you've effectively kind of like locked in for expansions there.
Well, hopefully I don't come to regret it, but you know, it's and honestly the scope did explode a little bit because when we... I think that one of the things... So when I initially designed the league, I was kind of like, okay, we're going to have like some limited number of rooms. We kind of spec'd it out, and like, you know, and each one will have a few levels, and it kind of didn't seem like it was that large. But really, in the context of PoE2, it's like, well, if you're going to spend effort to upgrade a room, it needs to feel meaningfully different and have meaningfully better rewards and all that stuff. And it pretty soon expands into like a really huge list of like different combat encounter mechanics and different like crafting mechanics and different rewards and everything. Like, there are so many new rewards and things in just in the temple. It's crazy. Like, you know, there's a lot there. Like, certainly the number of expanded crafting options and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. I mean, you know, we could take some inspiration from what PoE1 did with Incursion, you know, in terms of double corrupts and stuff, but we had to make it work in a PoE2 context. You know, there's just a lot there.
Yeah, I've followed your progress with designing this one from the very beginning.
Yeah, the funny thing is about that is that it actually came from a game that you recommended that I play.
I wasn't going to even say
machine that sits atop
that I play this game called Loop Hero.
Statues.
Yes. And then I mean, everyone think that the game we were inspired by is Blueprints, but it actually wasn't. It was Loop Hero. And
it was so good because I told you about that game, and then it was like a week later or something, you sent me a message like, "Hey, I've made this little program."
Yeah. So I prototyped up like a thing that's for what would become the UI for Incursion. We actually ended up. It's funny because this is like the first league I've actually personally done code on in like quite a long time.
You really got into it.
Yeah. Because I mean, it was a real fun, just like evening thing to like go and just like, you know, work on this design. And one of the great things about doing that is that I got to make so many design changes just in the course of like of writing it, like which I don't think necessarily would have gone exactly the same way if I was getting other people to do it. So yeah, that was really fun. And you know, just make and then effectively the back of it is like the code that I
needs
obviously
fit for the treacherous seas of Raycon.
That a bunch of other people.
This set has you
really looked
with the classic tricorn.
That was a lot of fun.
Of course, a piglet.
Like, because you got
treasure weapon skins, top your appearance of a true.
I just really enjoy this kind of like little game within a game, like little metagame things. And just that dungeon design thing is just a really fun thing for me.
Tile placing.
Yeah, it's just always it's really fun.
Love a good tile place.
You know, and I just like coming up with all the little ways that they can interact and that kind of thing, and you know, try to make one each feel a bit different and that kind of stuff. It's just a good time.
Yeah, and it's got this like iterative design where you're building a temple, you run it like it's a really small one, and then
what better to accompany you in
building on what you're doing each time?
Yeah.
It's like a weird kind of like roguelike-y thing without being a roguelike itself.
Yeah.
Exactly. So with that design then, I'm curious, like, does it like fully reset at some point? Like, for example, when you kill Atziri or
It never fully resets, but when you kill Atziri or defeat an architect, quite a lot of the temple gets destroyed. So there's this kind of destabilization thing. It goes back to not the start, but kind of, I think it removes like 2/3 of the rooms. There's some number like that it gets rid of at that point, and then you kind of have to build up again. That's just that effectively means that like when you do those options, you're getting like new reward rooms and things to play. So it's giving you new goals, and then you have to work towards those goals again. And then ideally, those reward rooms can be rewarding enough that the benefit of going back to smaller is or I'd say the negative of going back to smaller is completely outweighed by the benefits you're getting from the extra rooms that you're able to place.
So you can juice it a fair bit too.
You can, yeah.
There's a lot of like modifiers that are getting added on by each room, and you can place quite a lot of them.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. Do you foresee people building out like a huge temple and then kind of not having it decay as much as possible?
Yeah,
like
I mean,
it's
it's absolutely intended that you'll do that. I mean, once you've defeated Atziri enough times, you've got the uniques from there, and you've done like other things like that, then you absolutely will like probably want like for ultra end game play when you really want like the most challenging stuff and you're just like looking to get like as many double corrupts as you can and stuff like that. You're probably going to want to keep the temple large and specifically not do the stuff that would cause it to destabilize, because if you don't kill the architect and you don't kill Atziri, then it will it'll only pull you back. I can't remember the exact number of rooms, but there's some number of rooms that go away when it's quite full, and then you can just juice it really high and have really challenging in-game scaling tier of stuff. Because one of the things we were sort of concerned about is that there is some in-game content that just doesn't really scale as hard as it needs to scale in order to make it properly in-game viable.
Yeah,
we wanted to make sure that this was not the case here, that it actually does scale enough into the in-game.
Okay, so like designed to be pretty farmable and to be pretty late game relevant.
Of course, yeah.
It gets pretty hectic with all those mods.
Yeah.
With how many rooms are on there and like.
Yeah. But also just other things that you want to do, like so for example at the start of the game, you can only you can't like store up temple runs, as it were. As you get into the game, then now we start to have it so that you can store up more runs, so that you can like map for a while, then like do a bunch of incursions.
I think we have it that eventually you can do 60 maps and then temples, and then 60 maps, then temples.
If you want. So
if you want, or you can do 6, then a temple, then 6, then a temple.
So you can effectively store
anywhere
10
runs,
in between. 10 runs
nice.
If you want.
I feel like with these things, like now I keep seeing like, you guys have thought of it. The
thing is that we've got so much experience and stuff. I mean, like so for example, the whole like taking the currency away from the temple instead of having to craft inside the temple thing.
Yes.
Like that's just a hard learned lesson from PoE1 where you just need to.
You say we thought of it, and I have, because I'm just going to bring it up. But like, and a thing about, and this is something that I'm on the fence about a little bit. Personally, but the thing with the killing architect and Atziri, destroying a bunch of the temple, creating that clash of either farm temple or farm boss, can be quite a divisive thing for people.
Right.
You're looking at Betrayal Katarina, right? And the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like, we've now on PoE1, we separated those two things so they're not, because it always felt bad doing one or the other. Or I could feel bad doing one or the other, depending on how the balance went. And so you might get a similar thing here. Now, of course, the amount of the temple that can get destroyed is variable, and there's a bunch of stuff we can obviously tweak. But yeah, like getting that right and feeling right will be important. It's honestly hard to say if it is right now. But it's a thing, we say we've thought about it, but it can be very easy to see that and be like, hey, they're doing the same mistake they've made last time. Which, you're not wrong. Except depending on honestly having the lever this time in place of how much gets destroyed instead of entire board reset kind of thing. We get to control that a lot better and iterate on that if we need to. So
yeah, that's true. You've already
we've thought about it, but it can. I could see, because I was just thinking about it, going, I reckon people are going to get mad at this. And I was just looking at it, going like, the idea that it's like, hold on, I can't farm the bosses. I either have to pick bosses or pick temple. It can be quite bad.
Well,
so
yeah, that's clear then that you've kind of already got your hand hovering over the lever waiting to like adjust it as needed.
Yeah, and it's honestly kind of hard to know with, I mean, even if it's
the thing with this sort of stuff specifically is you're talking about that's the type of gameplay that is hard to test internally.
Yeah,
because how can you do just like you can't really test like what is weeks of grinding gonna feel like, it's So
I expect us to maybe we hit the sweet spot, who knows, hopefully. But I could imagine that this is a thing that gets adjusted for sure.
Yeah, so you've made the like the ability to sell like the corruptions, the double corruptions as an itemizable thing you can just take away and sell. Is there any reason to like itemize the temple like we did in PoE 1?
Nah, so that was really more of a band-aid solution in PoE 1 because we didn't have an easy way to change that. Like I'd prefer that the temple is your temple and that you don't sell them, but just that all the rewards are the things that you can trade. Like that, like trading the rewards was the reason why we I did our temple itemization in the first place. Yeah, just if this time we're just making sure to design the stuff in a way that can be take back that you can take with you.
No need for the band-aid in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
There's some really basic crafts that, like, your classic exalted orbs and stuff like that. Mostly, honestly, in the campaign.
Yeah.
And this is so when you're doing the tempo, you're getting not just the opportunity, like, because obviously some of that double corrupt stuff, you're not going to do that at like level 8. I mean, Vaal orbs aren't even in the game at that point. Yeah. So you have this thing where it's like, well, you don't get a lot of the crafting. Now, there are still rewards. There is, of course, all of that, but there's also just basic crafts like exalts and regals and stuff you can just throw on your gear. Now, you can't take those, and that is an intentional decision so that you feel like you're actually wanting to use it on your gear in the campaign and as you're progressing. Yeah. And you're not, because if you can take it, most of the time you're just going to hoard it for in-game.
Right. So it's those things to make the early game have more crafting stuff that you want to just use right there.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like, what stops you from just like keeping your results until end game?
Yeah.
You want to use those patches then.
You'll see those and go, I want to take that home, but really just use it.
Yeah.
It was a substantial buff to campaign crafting from my experience of messing with it so far. It's like you basically go in and there's like 6 crafting rooms and you're like just going on a little crafting spree of like upgrading your gear. Like,
yeah, I mean the temple. We it's funny because there's always the question whenever we make a league of like, well, what if people always say, oh, there's no reason to do this during the campaign, and it's like really have to incentivize that to make it so that no, there's actually worth doing. Like you're going to get a substantial power boost if you decide to engage with the league.
Yeah, you could. It seems like you can kind of like hold off as well. Like you can be like, oh, my gear's kind of okay now. I'm going to do that a little bit later.
You always want it to be both feeling rewarding and give you obviously an advantage, and also not feel so mandatory that you're like, ugh, what?
Yeah, it felt like kind of a bit optional in the sense that like, oh, I really need some gear upgrades now. Let's go into the temple and spice up all my gear.
Perfect.
Nice.
That's what we want.
Yeah, cool. And it is interesting that you've got this like raiding the broken down version of the temple in the beginning, and then it basically changes into this whole other thing halfway through the campaign. That's story beat there.
The other thing about the campaign thing is the same thing we learnt from Abyss, where we did the area specific rewards throughout the campaign. We have also dropping here from the in-world encounters. So even if you're not doing the temples, doing the in-world encounters can give you that extra drop per area.
It seems like on the back end maybe you've kind of taken what Abyss was doing and almost shifted it over.
Yeah. There's some modifications, but it's the same kind of thing.
Well, we've effectively got our, allocated amount of rewards and crafting and stuff for what a league is allowed to do and should do, and we're just trying to make sure that, it fulfills that, it fills that budget, so to speak, of...
Yeah, like you're getting a lesser jewels or been... Definitely, that was a huge thing with Abyss. I thought that was like a really good improvement to campaign, so it's good to see continuing with that then. It felt pretty successful as a design decision. Nice. I'm really glad double corruption is back. I feel like that's a great thing from PoE 1 to be returning.
One thing we've changed here is that because double corrupt existed in PoE 1, you never Vaal orb gear. Well, I don't want to say never. Obviously, there are still cases, but generally speaking, why single corrupt it to when you could double corrupt it? So we've made sure here that the double corrupt has to occur on top of a corrupted item.
That's cool.
Right.
So yeah, you have to Vaal orbs land it, and then you have to land the double corrupt on top of that.
Oh man, it almost feels like you're in some cases risking something even more, because like you've got that really high end unique with like a really good corruption already, and now you're risking that. You're not just risking a blank item on a double corruption. So like it's a heftier risk now in some cases.
I like it.
That's the Vaal spirit right there.
Like, oh man, this thing's already worth many, many divines at this point. I was like, oh no.
Some good streamer moments. So
you actually have to though, like it has to be crafted.
Yep, so you craft first and then you can apply the double craft.
Okay, cool. It keeps the usefulness of the Vaal orbs there as well, to kind of...
Yeah, I didn't want the Vaal orbs to just, you'd still use them on light waystones or whatever, but I didn't want them to just be like never used on gear anymore, because you'd rather just double corrupt it. And so it was a suggestion a developer made a while back, and I was like, that's immediately a win, and I almost want to change that in PoE 1 as well, but then I just forgot about it, to be honest. So, you know, I'm not sure if I do want to do that just before everyone maybe goes like, what the hell? No. But, you know,
consider it.
I like the idea, and I think it is an overall improvement,
Yeah, it sounds like a great idea. And then you've got this whole other system now, which you had a little bit of in PoE 1 recently, where you can corrupt uniques and it replaces a random modifier on them.
Yes.
So this is limited to specifically Atziri. No, what
Not
is it?
Atziri, Val uniques. Yeah,
uniques.
so we initially, I really wanted to make it so you could just replace arbitrary mods on any unique, but
Crazy.
the problem is, yes, it was just a
Unhinged.
can of worms that like was just not even possible to contain. Yeah, basically what we were like, okay, is there still a way to do this that's like not going to be quite so crazy? And then we were like, okay, if we can pick a subset of uniques, and we ended up going with Val uniques, you know, for obviously thematic reasons, then we can sort of make sure that like while it's still crazy, like there's still some insane interactions, we can kind of at least have somewhat of an understanding of what happens. But it does truly work where like it picks a random mod that's on the item and then replaces it with another random mod. So yeah, you can create some.
You can use it on non-Val. It works differently.
Huh?
I don't know. This is news to me. I didn't actually know that. What is that?
Excuse me?
I think it's similar to Ancient Orb in PoE 1. So it like re-rolls. The idea here is like it's meant to work on these Val items because they've been like
Incompatible item error.
infused with royal bloodline blood, and so it's like the way it works on Val uniques is different to just random uniques, where it's like, hold on, it works a bit more chaotically here, and you know, just changes the item entirely to something else on non-Val. So, and I only say that because obviously it's pretty bad to be like, I have to have a Val unique in order to use this. Now, no, you can take the currency home, so that's never the end of the world. But I want it to be like, you know, just go grab some random unique and re-roll it. Yeah, using it on the Val uniques is like quite cool. Right now, I'm trying to make sure, you know, a process that we've been doing is that we're not just replacing it with kind of just some random basic stuff. Like that will happen. That is a part of the pull, but we're trying to go through because we have a more limited set of uniques we have to actually do the mod replacement on. I want to make sure we're actually thinking about, for example, the Zerfi's body armor that has like Soul Leader, and it's like a level 39 base type.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like, this is a tool we could use to make that more in-game viable. And so you can do things like heavily increase the defenses, because obviously level 39 versus a level 75 base type or whatever is going to have very different defenses. But then you could also be like, what about if I was like, what other weaknesses does this item have? Well, you can't generate Soul Leader stacks on a boss. Maybe this can turn that on, you know? And so all of a sudden you can replace, I don't know, the life regeneration rate with a Soul Leader now generates once per second while a boss is in your presence or something like that, you know? Now these are kind of examples, but that was a specific one that I really wanted to do. So, but then I was like, I don't know, what if you did plus 25 Soul Leader stacks and stuff? But it's like very specific outcomes, very specific to that unique.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do a bit of that to use it as an opportunity to be able to save low-level uniques, if you know what I mean, to make them more in-game viable. And I thought that was a cool way. And obviously that's restricted to the Val pool for now, but like, if it works and works successfully, there's no reason that like some other mechanic can't do it for Ezomite uniques and other, you know.
Now. Yeah.
So,
I just wonder about the
we'll see how
concept
it
of
goes,
crit
but
on Druid.
I'm hoping now, obviously, because I don't know how far through we'll get with all of these specific, because it's like a lot of stuff. Once you start doing specific things with specific uniques,
There's so many
it's
things.
a lot of stuff to implement. So I don't know how far, but I was like, let's start with the mythic uniques, the rarest, most powerful ones, and we'll work backwards, getting to the more common, ones at the end.
I mean,
and
you've
then
also got the general like buffing of a bunch of other uniques as well, right? I mean, there's a lot of that.
Yes,
going on.
true. And I mean, that was part of that when I was like, okay, how can we buff this? How can we buff this? How can we buff this? And then I was like, well, a lot of them are like, this is too low level. And I was like, well, we have this system in the league. So yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes, hopefully. And it's the kind of thing where even if we don't, obviously these leagues end up often going core in some various means. So if we don't hit the mark entirely with all the uniques, I'd like to eventually get there where we'd have a good, cool, really thought out set for literally every Val unique. So hopefully that's fun. And then you do the cool things. You just get
It's
these
funny how
really,
something
really,
like this adds so
I
much
assume you're going to
variation.
get some that have these
Tremendous
replace
amount of
the
it.
exact two bad sides with the exact two, because you can replace more than one sometimes.
Oh.
And you get the you get the exact like, holy, this unique just went from being worth something 1 divine to 300 divine, kind of
Just
territory.
spoil
So
it,
hopefully
man.
that happens. If it doesn't happen, I'll be a bit sad.
Please.
But we'll try. You can never know with these things for sure.
And this includes the new Adzira uniques that she's dropping then, obviously, since she's kind of the queen of the Valley.
Yep, Adzira uniques, Trial Master uniques, a bunch of stuff. So
it's a fair few there then. Is that something that you anticipate expanding upon in the future then?
I mean, we'll be always adding more Val uniques.
Right.
So yes.
But in terms of for other cultures, that would probably come in a different form in a different league mechanic or some other place like that.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure.
In terms of the overall idea of, upgrading low level uniques.
Yeah. Did you ever discuss the idea of Val skill gems? It feels weird to add that when you're still adding regular gems.
It doesn't quite. So I mean, fundamentally, what a Val skill gem is in PoE 1 is a kind of ultimate type style ability in some sense, So it's we're kind of doing that in our normal gems at this point. So
What is wrong with this fucking player, man? Why does it lag?
it didn't really quite make sense to do it here.
It's the glory on the skills.
Glory kind of
Yeah, that's what I figured. That it's kind of you'd only be really doing it for nostalgia value at this point, I think.
Now, that isn't to say there won't be something in the future, but I agree that doing something like that when you haven't even got, all the classes and skills in place and all that, I would say that's a post-release feature, not a pre-release feature kind of thing.
Yeah. And are you still kind of with challenge leagues planning on having things like challenges, challenge rewards, etc. Post-launch?
So the plan for that was post-launch. It basically was kind of during early access, it doesn't quite make sense to do that. But post-launch we'll return to that again.
All right, shifting on to the topic of endgame, but first, just a brief detour. Trial of the Ancestors,
for me.
or the mystery contents in the new acts, and our third.
That lags. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. And well, I need to see the patch notes. I need to see the tree before I can say anything really. In the bigger picture.